Hi, my name is Shane, the movie analyst, and my guest today is Rhiannon Fish. Hello, nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Shane. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure meeting you.
I've seen quite a few of your movies. You're quite partial to a rom-com.
She loves the rom-com. Yeah, I feel very lucky. I've sort of found like this pocket of movies for television, which I've just found such success doing. And I also, at the same time, am having the most wonderful experience doing all of them. So I feel very lucky.
Do you think they're different to making a movie for the screen, or is it just the same vibe on set?
For sure, they're different. I mean, for one, we don't have any time to make these movies. At the most, for Hallmark, we'll get a 15-day shoot, and that's to essentially shoot like a feature-length film. Um,
Wow.
so we have to move really, really fast. But it often means that the people that we're surrounded by are sort of more green to the industry. Like a lot of the crews are like aspiring big time film actors.
Sure.
To get to work around these people that are so green and so hungry, I think it's a really wonderful energy to be around.
Oh, that's so good to hear. And I'm assuming there's some people who haven't been there for much of a career, but you can help them, I guess, as well.
For sure. That's been something that's been so lovely. A lot of the male actors that got the chance to work with, it's sort of their first film. A lot of them have done series before, which again is, of
Right.
course, its own beast entirely as well.
Sure. Yeah.
So to get to sort of go through these experiences as it's their first time for a lot of these guys, it's really, really fun to just watch them grow as actors.
Well, the focus I'd like to be on today is A Royal in Paradise. It's such a good movie, but I mean, I expected as much because it's produced by Steve Jaggi.
Steve Jaggi, the legend himself. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Once you do, I reckon to every actor out there, once you do one Steve Jaggi movie, you've got to do another one and more.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that we are so lucky to have a Steve Jaggi in Australia. I sometimes feel like there's a little bit of a gap. It's like we've got a lot of great series here, and then
Yeah.
we'll have these huge movies like Aquaman. There's nothing that's sort of that middle ground of like movies for television. And Steve is just doing such an incredible job bringing that work to Australia. Like we saw his film Up in the Air or Love is in the Air with
Lovers in
Dennis
the Air.
Woodroom. Yeah, that was number one on Netflix for weeks. And that really was just an Aussie film. So if we can continue to create stuff like that here, I think it would encourage actors and crew members alike to maybe stay in Australia if we've got these opportunities for work.
Oh, agreed. I'm a big fan of Steve, and I love endorsing his movies because they always make me smile. They're
Oh,
bright, bubbly, they're fun, and
that's great. I
yeah.
agree completely. Yes.
And he also sets most of his movies, not all of them, but most of them in a tropical location. So that
Yes.
helps.
That absolutely helps, and I think that's one of our great selling points overseas. So
Yeah,
we did A Royal in Paradise just found such success in overseas, which really kind of took all of us by surprise, and I think one of the reasons is because our lead character was Tangalooma, and it's just the most beautiful, magical place on earth, and
oh
we
yeah,
forget growing up or living in Australia, we're so lucky that, like, those beaches are basically our backyard in a lot of places. But for a lot of people around the world, they can only dream of seeing a location like that. So to get
yeah,
to set a movie there and to hopefully give them an escape um, to this magical place that we call home is it's a very cool job.
yeah, totally. And is there any downfalls of filming in the tropical location? Did you get
Oh,
any injuries? Did anything bite you?
sure. Australia is wild, dude. Like, I mean, so I'm born in Canada, hence the
Yes.
accent, grew up in Australia and then moved back to Canada. But we were shooting mid-year last year, and it gets cold in like around that time of year. So they did such a good job of like CGIing the sky in and making it look beautiful because I
Right.
can tell you on every single one of those days, we were all absolutely freezing. The volleyball scene, it was pouring down rain, which
You
again,
can't
you never
tell.
know. We looked like we were having the best time. We're lucky that it's a montage shot of us like splashing each other in the water because whatever audio they were catching was not us having a good time, I can assure you.
Oh, that's funny. I was going to mention the volleyball scene. It
Yeah.
looked like everyone was a great volleyballer.
Oh, yeah, again, that's all in the edit. Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Uh, I like Olivia. I think she's got some interesting traits.
Yeah.
Did you get handpicked for the role, or did you have to audition? How did you get the role? How did you get the part?
It's actually one of these wonderful moments so I've been in this industry for a long time. I started when I was about 11, and I've
Mm.
always tried to remind myself, like, if one door closes, it means it's because something else is going to open for you. There was another Steve Jaggi project that I was fighting to get the lead role in. I won't say which one it is, but they had me do like 3 auditions. I did multiple chemistry tests. I was fighting. And Steve was, bless him, Steve was he was pushing for me and wanted me to have the role, but things didn't quite go my way. And he said to me, "Don't worry, Rhiannon, I promise I'll give you our next job." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." Everybody always says that. But sure
Right.
enough, Steve Jaggi is a man of his word. And Royal came up next. And fortunately, the director of that, Adrian Powers, was like, "Yeah, she's great. Let's go with her." And that movie is now, we just shot the sequel, and fingers crossed there will be many more to come. So it was this perfect example of that didn't work out because this was meant to be.
How good to know, like that, one thing falls out of your way, but then another
Yeah,
thing falls in your
yeah,
way, and it's simply just worked for you. That's cool.
absolutely. Yes.
Olivia gets writer's block in
Yeah,
the movie.
yeah.
Is there an actor's block? Is there such thing as actor's block? Do you get frozen at any time, or has it ever happened to you where you've forgotten your lines and things like that?
Oh my gosh, for sure. I think I have, as so many of us do in our jobs, like imposter syndrome is so real, where you can have been I have, like I said, I've been doing this since I was 11, but there is every single day when or no, usually at the start of a film, like before I go to set, am I like, did I just fake this whole thing? Are they going to turn around and go, what were we thinking casting her? What if all of this has just been luck this whole time and I actually have no idea what I'm doing? But I sometimes try and remind myself that I only feel that way because I care, because I want to do a good job. So it's not necessarily a trait that I am looking to lose.
That's good to hear. And the chemistry works. I mean, Mitchell seems like a great guy anyway, but on screen it clicks. Did you get to know him, or had you already met him before the show,
I
like before your screening started?
I was cast first, so I got to
Mm,
do the chemistry read with, I think it was 3 or 4 options for Prince Alexander, and it was just so, they were all brilliant, but it was
yeah,
so obvious that Mitchell, like, you just look at him and you're like, "Oh, that's a prince." Like, it's so plausible that
yeah.
he's a prince. He's got this gorgeous look about him, the way he carries himself. He's just so believable in that role, that it meant to be him for sure. And then once we started working together, I think the chemistry was just so obvious between these two characters. I love getting to explore the two of them and their relationship together.
Do you ever fall into character or stay in character because it was so naturalistic between the two of you?
Well, I know we're not quite talking about, we're talking about Royal, but I did just shoot a movie on Gari, which is another Australian film. And I shot that with my ex-boyfriend. And sure enough, that was one where the lines got a little blurry of like, what's real, what's the movie. But no, Mitchell and I remained very professional the whole time.
Oh, good. Sorry about that. I didn't
No, don't be
realize.
sorry. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't something I was comfortable saying. No, no.
Oh, interesting how the world works. You just
Isn't
did a
it
movie
crazy?
with your ex.
Again, yep, there's a reason that that happened. I'll figure it out in time. We'll see.
They mentioned sequels. Do you think that's a good idea to make sequels, or would you prefer, if you had your way, just to start from scratch and have unique stories each time instead of rehashing certain stories?
I think we're so fortunate to have, so we've got Adrian Powers and Kyra Bradshaw are our writers, and they
Yeah,
are very talented writers. They obviously wrote Love is in, why do I keep getting it wrong? Love is in the Air?
love is in the air.
Yeah, they obviously wrote that one too. Like, they're just very, very talented. And I even had a hesitation when I went to read the sequel. I was like, fingers crossed they get this right. And sure enough, they more than got it right. They have found ways to develop each of the characters in ways that I just think make sense to me. It's titled The Royal Proposal. So it's basically the next step of their relationship
Fair
together.
enough.
And then hopefully, the third one will be the royal wedding. And we actually can follow these characters on what is, in my opinion, a very believable story arc.
Hey, it could be a journey from, the wedding, the honeymoon.
The royal babies. Yeah,
Yeah,
you never know.
the family edition.
Exactly.
Now, where you started, how your heritage at Canada, how did you get to Australia? Was it by chance, or were you brought here because family members were working here?
Yeah.
What's your background?
My dad's an engineer, so they transferred him here for work, and it was only supposed to be like an 18-month assignment. So
Right.
my sister and I came over. I was 4, she was 2. My mom, of course, came as well. But then the assignment just kept getting extended. And I really do feel so lucky. I feel like Australia is just one of the greatest places in the world to be able to grow up. And I
Certainly.
felt so privileged in that I had every opportunity. The film industry is really, it's kind of smaller, which makes it better when you're just trying to get into it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I just feel very, very grateful to have grown up here.
Oh, it's great. We're very happy to have you here, especially
Thank
when you
you.
make such really cool movies and
Thank
bright.
you. Thank you.
Uh, have you ever thought about doing a little bit more action? Comedy is your thing and romance and family friendly stuff, but a bit of action female
Yes.
hero style
Yeah.
roles can be really important in someone's career.
I couldn't agree with you more. At the start of this year, I shot a movie for Lifetime. So again, another movie for television, but Lifetime is sort of like, Hallmark's Dark Sister, where it followed a true story of a, basically, I shouldn't talk too much about that one yet because we haven't started
Sure.
releasing it, but it is a very, very dark story. And it, of course, meant that I went to work and left work feeling very different than I do when we're shooting these happy, fun movies. But
Mm.
it felt so good to be able to play that side of the coin as well.
That's good to hear. And would you ever consider writing something yourself, do you think, or will you just stick with acting down
I
the
was
track?
talking to Adrian and Kyra about that and sort of giving them credit where they were like, anybody can write. And I was saying to them, no, like I don't personally have anything to say. I love to get the words given to me and then have the pleasure of working with a collaborative sort of team where we can all then work together to sort of beef up these characters. I would love to maybe one day enter into directing or producing, but for now, I am very content acting.
Okay. And you're such a positive person on screen, and I can tell off screen as well. Lovely to talk to. How do you maintain that positivity? And you're stunning, and your look, and you're glowing. How do you maintain that every day somehow? Do you have a trick
Of
that you
all,
can
right
share?
back at you, right back at you. And I think I have good lighting. I've got some good lighting working for me here. So thank
Probably
you.
better lighting than me, I'd say. I'm not sure.
I think honestly that this might sound really cheesy, but I think that positivity and that light comes from within. So I've worked extensively in therapy. I think therapy is a wonderful thing. I actually saw my
Okay.
therapist today. Um, I just think that it's a way that if you feel good on the inside, I think that then does come out on the outside. And that's definitely something that I've tried to practice or learn over the years.
What's something you can tell me about Steve Jaggi on set that maybe nobody else knows?
Oh my God, Steve Jaggi's an icon. He's first of all, do you know that he's like a watch snob? Like yeah, you knew
I
that?
have heard this.
I heard this. So like he'll come onto set and he'll look at whatever, and bless, we're working with, a relatively small budget. So the wardrobe department will get, Prince Alexander the best watch that they can find for them.
Sure. Yeah.
Steve Jaggi comes in, rolls out of his Tesla, comes in, and that watch won't do. So right off his hand, he will take his own who knows how expensive watch and lets the male actors wear one, because I think in his films it is always very important that the men have nice watches.
Good to know. Good to know. I like to know from you about costuming.
Yeah.
I mean, costuming is so important.
Yes.
And have you got a favorite era? I mean, you've done various eras and
Yeah.
different retro to
Yeah.
current and beyond.
Totally.
Any kind of era that you love just dressing up and being part of?
I have to say, I mean, I would love to say something really cool, like, the 20s, 30s,
Yeah,
40s, whatever. But for me, in the sequel we just shot, Olivia has a princess dress moment. And for me, that was something that as a little girl, I grew up watching things like Beauty and the Beast and always wanted to
sure.
have that Belle princess moment. And so we got this most magical dress, and there's that iconic shot of me like coming down the stairs to meet the prince. And
Beautiful. Yeah.
I just felt like was fulfilling something in like little Rhiannon that I just can't describe.
Go Rhiannon, Team Rhiannon. I love it.
Exactly.
A couple of more questions before we wrap up. Can you surf? I was
Oh,
wondering.
not at all. No, I'm a pretty good boogie boarder.
Okay.
Not a good surfer.
Boogie boarding doesn't count, but that's
Okay,
okay.
sure. Yeah, no worries. I respect that.
And snacks. What's your favorite snacks when you go to the movies or sit down on the
Oh,
couch?
I'm actually going to the movies tonight. I'm not sure what I'm
Oh,
going to go see. I love this now. I'm sort of entering this new era where I don't read anything about the movie. I don't want to know anything about it. I'll just
okay.
basically get a ticket and go. So I don't even know the title of it. But I'm just a sucker for popcorn. Love a large popcorn, biggest size I can get any day.
Well, let me give you a tip. If you've seen Napoleon, get a
Yes.
really big bucket of popcorn because it's long.
Oh, it's long.
Uh,
Okay.
or if you see Wonka, get a
Yeah.
bucket of popcorn and put some Maltesers or something in
Oh,
it.
sure. Oh, because you'll want chocolate. Good
You
note.
want
Very
chocolate,
good
yeah.
note. Thank you.
And finally, a Royal in Paradise. I just think it just works. Everything works, and I love to want to know what Olivia is going to do next. So I'm really glad to hear there's a sequel. What can you give me a little bit of more of a secret of what's coming up?
For sure. I think basically, the Queen says to her, Olivia, you're not cut out for the royal life. You can't
Mm,
handle this. And in the sequel, we see that, yeah, I think the Queen may have been right.
okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever met any royalty yourself?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe one day.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe at a pub sometime you might
Sure.
bump
You
into.
never know. You never know.
I really appreciate your time. Any final words? Like, how do you find that people, do they come to you for advice, or is there some kind of advice you could give someone who was aspiring to be a young actor?
I think the most important lesson I ever learned was to not give up. You are going to get told no so many times, to the point where
Mm,
I got an audition come through today and I read the bio and I was like, that's not me. I'm not going to get that job. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go out there guns blazing and give it my best bloody
yeah,
shot, because you just never know who's going to see that or what that is going to lead to.
that's words to live by. That's for sure. I really appreciate it,
Well,
Rhiannon.
I really appreciate you. Thank
Great
you
to
so
meet
much.
you.
You as well.
Uh, I've stopped.